Thank you. The science is clear. Spending time outside, it is good for you. It is good for your physical health. It is good for your mental health. Psychologists say it helps you focus better. It lowers your stress. It gets your body moving. But for many people, the outdoors hasn't always been a welcoming space. So now, hiking groups across Canada are working on making the great outdoors more inclusive. Zoena Gray, a hiker and environmentalist, is here in studio with more on why these groups are so important. Good morning to you.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm really well. It's great to have you here. We are in the forest. We've got our trails, so let's talk about it. Tell me about inclusivity in outdoor activities. What are some of the barriers some people can face?
Definitely. So I think just in terms of accessibility and seeing ourselves reflected in nature environments, you know, something I always say when I'm talking about this is like, Black people are represented within nature. It's just about whether we're seeing that representation enough. So for me, coming to Canada was really important for me to find and connect with the groups that I already knew would be happening here and not recreate the wheel. So that's what we're here to talk about today, those amazing groups.
Let's talk about the groups in this country now supporting people of color. What can you tell us?
Yeah, so one of those 3 groups I'm going to point out today is Diverse Nature Collective, which is in the city that I live in Peterborough. We're also going to talk about Black Canadian hikers and Color the Trails, which is more Canada-wide. And all those groups strive for diversity within nature.
Tell me more about the groups.
Yeah, so Color the Trails kind of works toward bringing color back, so having Black people, people of color included within nature spaces. Diverse Nature Collective does something similar. And Let's Hike Toronto talks more about 18 to 30-year-olds being able to connect to nature within urban spaces, which is really different because urban connection to nature might look different than rural spaces.
Can you unpack that a little bit? What does that mean?
Yeah.
How does it look different?
Yeah, so in Toronto, there's actually a lot of great nature spaces, but instead of like walking or driving to a space, you might just take the TTC. So I'm actually leading a hike with Let's Hike Toronto this Sunday, a queer ecology hike on the DVP. And, you know, it's amazing to see the mix of like cityscapes and nature spaces kind of melded together. So that's the beauty that you get when you're hiking in the city.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
And I think people would probably react that way too. That you're taking the subway, you end up like in some sort of ravine somewhere. Is that sort of how it works?
Totally, yeah, totally.
Oh, that's awesome. Why is it so important that groups like this exist?
Yeah, so I think the important piece of this is just kind of providing that idea that we are here and kind of also having access to nature, like you said at the beginning of this segment. It has a lot of psychological effects. It also allows us to relax and restfulness, and all those things are really important in terms of the way that we show up in this world. And when we talk about climate change, you know, our connection to nature really impacts the way that we're able to see and the lens to put on when we're talking about conversations around climate change.
I want to ask you about conversations in particular and the use of sound when you're going through these hikes. We talk a lot about sound in broadcasting, a lot about sound and how we tell the story using sound. I imagine that when you're walking through trails like this one, there's got to be moments where you just say stop and listen. Right?
Totally. And I think for me, I'm very intentional about not always having headphones in when I'm hiking. So that's a little piece of how I can like connect to the world around me, and also not always feeling the need to rush. When I was hiking the Bruce Trail from Niagara to Tobermory, it was really easy to just want to get to Tobermory after being on the trail for that long, but really being able to tune in and just slow down and view all the beautiful things that we have in our environment in Ontario and across Canada.
Tell me a little bit about this picture.
Yeah, so this picture is me on the Bruce Trail. I think this was probably in the 3rd week, so a little bit tired, but
3rd week.
Yeah, 3rd week. But like these little things like bridges and forests I always was like, let me just stop and take a photo here. Cool. Even though it was difficult, it was always important for me to just stop and pause.
What is trail magic?
Yeah, so on the Bruce Trail, a story that I always like to tell is after one of my longest hiking days, 30 kilometers, we were just laying out waiting for somebody to pick us up, and a moving truck came offered us water, and we also got Canada Dry. And that was like the best tasting Canada Dry I've ever had in my life.
I bet. And that is trail magic.
Definitely.
It was great to have you here. What are you up to next?
Yeah, so like I said, I'm leading the queer ecology hike here in Toronto on Sunday. And if you want to hear any information, just follow me on Instagram at just.zee.
Love it. It's been great to have you in studio.
Yeah, thank you.
Come back soon.
Hey, thanks for watching. If you liked this, be sure to subscribe here, or you can check out more Your Morning videos right here.